Sound speed?
My son.
Action.
My son should be here soon. 3 o'clock. Yeah, 3 o'clock. Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah, let's make it sound like AM radio. No, we don't need that much tube saturation. Welcome back. It's a never-ending twisting of knobs here, fiddling around with stuff. Right before I recorded the show, I was thinking, let me just use the onboard preamps on the Tascam field audio recorder, which is kind of my go-to for recording audio for this show. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm hearing a little distortion. I'm hearing some harmonics in my headphones. And I tell you, once you really dig deep into this kind of stuff, audio imperfections just don't go away. It is kind of the great thing, but also the downside. When you hear a recording and you're really digging the music and you hear some slight problems in the technical side of the recording, it will bug the crap out of you. I don't know if you noticed, I am talking over a bed and you can hear my voice make the music duck in volume, so it kind of makes room for my voice in the mix. Otherwise, let me just turn this feature off and you can really hear it competing with my voice, and it makes it very annoying to listen to, right? So I'm going to turn sidechain back on, and now it just automatically ducks. And you can make it, really obvious if you want that effect, or you can just kind of make it gradual, so you basically make it react quick. It duck down and then you stop talking and it slowly pulls up. That it makes it a little less noticeable, and it makes it really musical, even though you're not doing a music show, but you do want to add musical elements into it to make the show more interesting, to make it more fun to listen to. And again, this is the Ricky Harris Media Podcast. I greatly appreciate everybody from sticking around. I was hoping to bring this show back to the tail end of the summer, but now we are deep into the fall time, and I've been very busy doing other projects. I have not had enough time to dedicate to this podcast like I wanted to, but now, here on out, through the end of this year and the beginning of next year, every week there's going to be a new show. This show is going to be kind of focused on audio production for podcasting. The next show of season 3 is going to be more into content creation, actually recording videos with your phone or a video camera, camcorder, like a digital video camera, that being a DSLR or a traditional camcorder. And I want to kind of go through the pros and cons of using your phone versus a more professional route like that, and getting good audio. Yeah, it's very obvious when you think about audio in podcasting. Of course, that's very crucial. A lot of times that's the only thing you have, but it's very crucial for video. When you have good audio in a video, you can have some very, very substandard video quality, but if you're conveying the information and it's easy to understand you, or if you're recording some object like a motorcycle. I was watching a video this weekend of a motorcycle. It wasn't all the way in the studio, but it had enough in the studio where they could get, a little bit of the room sound in the recording, and they were recording the engine with a SM57, and that motorcycle revving sound was actually used in a song. I thought that was so awesome. But it's very critical to have good audio on both. And it's really simple to do anymore, and it's really inexpensive to do anymore. I want to talk a little bit more about the Zoom F2-BT. I've got that recording now. I'm going to switch to that audio right now. And I have the microphone in the exact same spot as my Rode NT1. The NT1 is on a shock mount on a boom arm on my rack here in the studio, and I've got the microphone right behind the pop shield on that microphone. And you'll hear this term, and it sounds very technical, but it's actually very simple. I have it phased align, so that way I can switch back and forth, and there won't be any kind of weird throat sounds No, there won't be any weird sounds with phase alignment. Now, phase alignment is just simply a measure of time. You know, sound is relatively slow compared to other things like light. So even when you're talking like here, I'm about 6 inches away from the microphone, even that short distance, if you don't have it phased aligned and you want to be able to switch them or even blend the two microphones together, this is a very common technique on recording snare drum and guitar, bass, anytime you're miking. In that case, an acoustic instrument, which would be your speaker, or you're recording an acoustic guitar, it's very common to use two microphones because you can get a more fuller tone, and you can adjust the tone after the fact by adjusting which microphone is louder than the other. But you want to have those phase aligned, because if you don't, what will happen is the source material will arrive at the microphones at slightly different times, and then when you overlay this, and when you look at this visually, when you overlay these waveforms together, these sine waves, you will have cancellation. So some frequencies will disappear, and it can destroy your tone sometimes. But I mean, again, we're talking about art here. Sometimes that may sound good. Maybe it kills 250 hertz, which is kind of muddy and it's kind of boomy, kind of drony, and it kills that on the acoustic electric or the acoustic, and you're like, well, that sounds better now. But generally for voice, you don't want to do that, or any kind of percussion. You definitely, where percussion and voice are very similar, where it's really quick. It's very quick. It's very quick pieces of program with lots of pauses in between. So you want to have phase alignment. And so this is the Rode NT1 right now, and this is the Zoom F2 BT. And back on the Rode NT1, just playing them back on my studio monitors, they actually sound very similar. They're completely different microphones, completely different systems. One being a field audio recorder, and the microphone is plugged directly into it, and the other one, a field audio recorder on set to line level and recording off my vacuum tube preamp, and the tube preamp is driving the Rode NT1. So completely different systems, but I'm amazed at how similar they sound. But I do have them exactly in the same position. When you look at a microphone, this case, a large diaphragm condenser, it's side addressed. So you talk in, or your sound source goes into the side, and you just split that microphone right down the middle from the top. You look at the top of the microphone. So you want to get the other microphone aligned to where its diaphragm is in the center there too. So that's what I did with the lavalier. I'm amazed at how good it sounds. This is a really awesome device, and it will really solve a lot of problems that you may experience with audio and convenience, not having to deal with a transmitter, frequencies. Wireless microphones are, unless you spend a lot and get like some Sennheisers or some Electrosonics are awesome. They're almost the industry standard that I've noticed. They are awesome, but you're looking at like $2,000-$3,000 just for one microphone. But they are incredible. But most of the microphones that are within everyday production companies and content creators' budget, that's not a good idea. But this right here is extremely simple, and it's brilliant in its design. So it's wireless in a sense that it records to itself, so it's completely independent of your video camera or someone else that might be doing the presentation with you. They can have their own device too. You can just simply hit the record button on the device, start recording. You can have the person doing the presentation start and stop it themselves, or, which is really cool for really fancy productions and just ease of use, to where your talent is not having to deal with the technology. They're just focused on their presentation, their delivery, their performance. You can have your audio engineer start and stop it remotely with Bluetooth. And something I was curious about, and I've tested it out, kind of going through all the different scenarios that you might run into in production. Well, what happens if that person that is doing the presentation gets out of range, like away from your phone or your tablet or whatever, you have it connected to Bluetooth? Yeah, you lose control over it, but it'll still continue to record and it'll act normally. And then at the end of the take, you get back into range, you just reconnect to it and then stop it. It's so awesome. It records to a micro SD card, and you can either pop that out, plug it into a card reader. I've plugged it into my phone. I've tried every scenario I could think of. Plugged it into a micro SD to regular SD card adapter, pop that into the computer, reads it just fine, and it also has a USB-C port. You can plug that into your computer and use the device itself as a card reader, or you could plug it into your phone, and I found it will actually mount as a drive on your phone, so you can do all this stuff and manage the files, copy them, listen to them, do all that through your phone, and it's really cool. It's very, very convenient. Runs on 2 AAA batteries, but I've also found that it will also run off of USB-C. But the USB-C power supply needs to be just a regular brick or a what do you call it? Mine's blanking. I can't think of the name battery. Yeah, battery. A battery bank that has USB-C out, and you can run off of that. So it's really nice if you're having a long sit-down interview. Don't have to worry about going through a bunch of AAAs. You can actually power it off of an external source. Really cool. I love this thing. And this is, like I said before last season, it's such a great blending of technologies that are available and then putting them all into one device. And there you go. I'm not sponsored by Zoom, but they're kind of like the industry standard too. You see the last production I worked on, the last movie I worked on, I talked to the audio engineer, and I was very curious on his setup. And he was using a Zoom field audio recorder, just like the video conferencing software. Same thing, Zoom, Z-O-O-M, very, very popular amongst content creators. And this is another great example. I'm going to get probably a Zoom audio interface to put in my studio. That's just how impressed I've been with them. I see why they've become the audio standard, the industry standard for audio, I should say. Okay, I went off on a little tangent there, but it's definitely something I want to talk about. Really, I think you could get away with using these lavaliers, clipping them to your shirt for your podcast for a very simple, unobtrusive way to record your show. And it would be very much like a television show, and it would work really good visually. You don't have these big, massive microphones in front of your face. And it's less intimidating to your guests, too, because you just clip the microphone on, and it's like 5 minutes of doing the show. You will forget it's there. You will really forget the microphone's there. And I'm very picky, extremely picky with audio. And I was going back and forth, just playing them back off the devices and running them through my mixing board and my monitors in here. And I was like, man, I really can't hear much of a difference in tone. That's incredible. Usually lavaliers don't sound that great, but this one sounds pretty good. I say they don't sound great as compared to a large diaphragm condenser, a more of a studio microphone. They have some limitations because of their size. Sometimes they'll sound kind of tinny, or they'll just sound very muffly, but not the case with this microphone. Very, very well-tuned microphone. But I do want to talk about side chaining. As you heard at the beginning of the show, side chaining is a great effect for ducking audio and kind of being an automatic mix. It's a little bit tricky to set it up. I've done it both in hardware and in software. I've did it with Reaper. That's what I use to record this show and do the production and mixing on. So I'm doing it through Reaper. So it's definitely different on how you set it up. But side chaining is basically, let me start back over. A compressor is an automatic volume control. So let's use your voice as an example. If you're talking softly and then you talk really loud and you go back soft again, listening to that on a recording will have you lunging for the volume control and then constantly tweaking it, and it can be very annoying for your listener. So one way around that of sort of automation is you can have compression. So the louder you talk, the more the compressor will act on that audio source and pull it down. Now, it shouldn't be used in every situation to fix problems because it can introduce noise. Sometimes the noise can be very pleasing and musical, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it doesn't fit. So you really don't want to overuse it, as in, use it, have it as a go-to, just always use it to fix problems, because you can't introduce noise, and you don't want to overuse it as in driving it too hard. So light compression just to kind of level everything out. But a compressor doesn't have to have its detection loop as the audio source you're hearing in parallel with it. You can have the detection loop monitor another source. In this case, it was monitoring the track from my microphone, and then it was compressing the music. So that way it's two completely different audio sources, and it's working independently of one another, using the detection from the microphone to introduce compression on the music, pulls it down. When I stop talking, it lets go, releases, and it pulls back up. Do want to throw out a little plug here. A little plug, never hurt anybody. Guess it's depending on what kind of plug you're talking about. His and Hers Netflix. Check it out. January 8th. I was on set for that. I was an extra, and that was an absolute blast. That was shot here in the Atlanta, Georgia area, and it was actually shot at a school, this particular scene that I was in. So it wasn't any of that movie magic where it was shot on a soundstage. It really was at a school in a kind of a busy area. So we had to pause production a couple times because outside traffic was making noise. You can hear horns honking, and that's all part of it. But I thought that was really cool. It was actually a school. And so it's very, very real because it really is that building. It wasn't faked on a soundstage. I've read the book. If you haven't read the book, it's based on the novel, His and Hers. Check that out. If you really like murder mysteries, anything creepy like that, suspenseful, it will have you on the edge of your couch just reading the book. I can't imagine what this is going to be like in a series. It's going to be awesome. Cannot wait to watch it. Check it out. His and Hers, Netflix, January 8th. So what else have I been up to? Well, I took some of my own advice. I was an audience member for a couple of shows. ABC's celebrity version of Family Feud. That was awesome. And also audience member on the game show Flip Side with Jaleel White. Jaleel White, you may have recognized him from his role as Urkel in the show Family Matters, and he's a great host of this show. He really brings this show to life, and this was one of the funnest sets that I've ever been on because you were just right there. You're like 20 foot away. You're on the same level. You're on the stage for this. This was shot in Trilith Studios in Fayetteville at their performance center, which is a sound stage that also doubles as a performance venue, which is really cool, which makes sense because, they both have very similar needs. You want to have good sound for both. So it's really cool how you have a performance venue and a sound stage all in one there. That was a blast. Family Feud, I will say, those of you that have seen Steve Harvey on television and have heard him on this radio show, you're familiar with him, right? Very familiar, but until you see him live, you're not getting the whole picture. Oh my God. My back was hurting. I was laughing so hard. He'll cut up between segments, and in that show, they call them acts, and between acts, basically segments of the television show. And it was just absolutely hilarious. He was just on fire. And from a historical standpoint, which I found very, very interesting. This show was the very first show shot outside of Los Angeles, and it was shot here in Atlanta, which was really cool. Check it out. Celebrity Family Feud is available on Hulu. Check it out. Now, are you thinking, how can I do that, Ricky? How can I just show up and watch a show? Well, you can't just show up and watch a show for the most part. You can't do that. But you can go to a website called On Camera Audiences. That's on-camera-audiences.com. Sign up for a free ticket. Go watch a show. They shoot shows all over the place. A good bit of them in Atlanta. Celebrity Family Feud and the regular syndicated version of Family Feud is shot here in Atlanta. A lot of movies are shot in Atlanta. Definitely go check out some of the casting pages on Facebook, any social media, and in the local media for extras. Sign up to be an extra, and you'll make a little money too at doing this, and hopefully have as much fun on set as I do. That's the main thing I love. I love being there and watching it all happen. It's just incredible. It's amazing to see all this come together. All these people, all this equipment, all this talent all come together. Just like anything, manufacturing is the same way, right? All of it just comes together and makes an awesome product right before your eyes happening. It's even cooler than going to watch it on the screen, the big screen, I think, or your small screen at the house. Well, you may have a big screen at the house too. It's so cool. It's a live movie. It's happening right in front of you. It is really cool. So definitely check that out and go watch some TV live right in front of your face. Thanks everybody for checking us out, and thanks you for your patience. Season 3 is back. The Ricky Harris Media Podcast. See you guys and gals next week. Later. Bye.